Okay.
Hey, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy Obama Day to everyone. That's what we're calling President's Day around here. Big up to everybody that is checking out the show on YouTube, on Substack. If you're listening on any podcast apparatus, or you are on Facebook or Twitch, our Twitchies on Twitch. We appreciate everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate everybody. We got people coming in, chiming in from London, Sacramento, California, all over the world. We appreciate our international Team TJRS audience. Big up to our Team TJRS folks. Jason, how you doing?
Happy Monday, fam. I'm doing well, Joy. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, but for the country going on in the crapper, we appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and have a good show.
Let's have a good show. Thanks to everybody who voted for us for the NAACP Image Award. Voting is now closed, so we will not be making any more entreaties to you all to vote for us. Don't for me, I'll set you free. That is not going to be happening on tonight because the voting is closed. So it's too late now. If you didn't vote for us, you missed out. But we'll see what happens in that election. I guess in a couple weeks, we'll find out if we are the winner in our podcast category. Big up to the Lemonheads already showing themselves in the YouTube chat. The Lemonheads be popping over. I know that Don, I think he has a Insiders Live going on at some point. So we will have probably slightly fewer Lemonheads today. We always appreciate you guys each and every time. I want to remind you guys, if you bought merch, do post on your social media and put on your Team TJRS hashtags. You can put it at Joy Reid Show hashtag. You can put readers, whatever you want, or you can put wearing joy, whatever you want, just to make sure that we know that you're in the place. We appreciate y'all. So once again, happy Obama Day. Let me let y'all take a look at how the holiday, which others call President's Day, played out in New York City in front of the one and only, or the first and not only, Trump Tower in Manhattan. Now, I tried to bleep out all the F Trumps, okay? So hopefully I got them all. I think I got them all. I did my best. I was trying to bleep my little heart out to make sure that you guys didn't have to hear any F-bombs. But yeah, that's pretty much how it went for Donald today. He's not a beloved figure, let's just say. It's just been that kind of year for Diaper Don, or our waddle-pantied pedophile president, who lately seems to be focused on mainly two things. My earring just fell out. On getting as rich as possible off of being president. That's number one.
Do you want to go pick that up?
Yeah, it's okay. I'll just take the other one off. Make, as long as I'm even, Steven. It's all about symmetry. If one is off, they both got to be off.
You want to come get it?
No, it's way down there. It's all good. It's gone but not forgotten. He's focused on those two things: getting rich, right? Getting as rich as possible off of being president of the United States, something he could never do when he was not president. Becoming a billionaire, getting all the crypto and selling people, all the merch and all the things. And also the second thing, which seems to be even more important, burying whatever he can that's in the Epstein files, including clearly plotting to use his secret police force and maybe even the military or wherever else he has to use in order to ensure that Congress never changes hands, so that, he might face even the possibility that Democrats will man up and put a halt to the gravy train and maybe stop ICE from killing people and helping America turn into Gilead. But the thing that I want to focus on tonight, because by the way, before I even get to that, I want to remind you guys to please hit like and subscribe, because if you hit like and subscribe, the algorithm loves it. The overlords of all of these platforms appreciate it, because that's how you show that you're appreciating and loving this independent media. So do hit like and subscribe if you could. But I want to focus you guys tonight, not so much on that, right? On Trump's crypto grifting and all the criminess. I want to focus you guys on the way the right wing in this country has been groomed over the course of many, many years. Now, I'm going to show you a video from InfoWars. Yes, that InfoWars. Stay with me for a minute. It's the one created by Uber conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, that one, the guy who thinks that, every mass shooting, including the one that left 24 kids at Sandy Hook Elementary School slaughtered by gunfire, was a false flag, that guy. A lie for which he now owes the families of Sandy Hook $1.4 billion with a B, which he has yet to pay. So with that set up, the date of the clip that we're going to show you right now is December 9, a day after my birthday, 2011. And the president that the people in this video, which is, they set up as a newscast, InfoWars News. And the president that they are scaremongering about is one Barack Hussein Obama. Take a look.
Insider documents recently obtained by InfoWars reveal the current and ongoing operations to staff FEMA and U.S. Army camps inside the U.S. According to our sources, KBR is contracting services for temporary fencing and barricades, along with other services required for temporary emergency environment camps. They're to be located in 5 regions of the United States. Now, this comes immediately after the Senate passed the National Defense Authorization Act, which allows indefinite detention of American citizens. All this at a time when economic conditions and mass demonstrations sweep through the country and threaten potential unrest. The government has patiently put into place the crucial elements of its police state grid and plan for the internment of political enemies. We are literally one false flag terror attack away from the plan going live. As the Department of Homeland Security and establishment media keep telling us, the next terror event will be on American soil and carried out by domestic patriot political groups, not Al-Qaeda. The FBI and the CIA have a long history of creating domestic terrorists, patsies, and shifting the blame over to their political enemies.
It's all there. All the government documents, all the government admissions, a civilian inmate labor camp program run by the Army, where they're at, all the details down to how they're going to break the families up and where the children go and the forced inoculations and everything. I mean, it just boggles the mind that all of this is happening.
The fact that detention camps are being constructed inside our country and are now being staffed and readied for emergency situations, what can no longer be ignored or ridiculed as a conspiracy theory. Senate committee hearings and official Homeland Security documents further illustrate the mindset of our federal government as they classify homeschoolers, gun rights activists, constitutionalists, and returning veterans as potential terrorists. By default, creating an entire nation of radicals and revolutionaries, where everyone is a suspect, equally guilty until proven otherwise. I'm Darren McBreen for InfoWars Nightly News.
Darren McBreen for InfoWars Nightly News.
Well, that sounds like something we're living through right now.
Exactly. And I mean, did y'all catch that? This was during Obama. And the right, the far right, that is now the MAGA, this is the base of MAGA. This is who MAGA drew from, right? They believe that Barack Hussein Obama was going to round up conservatives, homeschoolers, and Second Amendment pro-gun people and returning veterans and put them in concentration camps run by FEMA. That is the kind of content that literally made Alex Jones rich. At his height, he was taking in like $5 million a month doing this content, right? These conspiracy theories, whose only basis was the existence of a real agency, the very Orwellian named Department of Homeland Security, which only existed because of the 9/11 attacks. It was created after 9/11. It was passed in 2001 and was stood up in 2003. FEMA was placed under the Federal Emergency Management Agency, was placed under the Department of Homeland Security. These agencies were mushed together, right? FEMA, whose job it is to respond to storms. So all you needed was the existence of this brand new thing, the Department of Homeland Security, which probably sounded better in the original German, which I never loved the name of that. And FEMA, and by the way, ICE, which was also created at the same time, that legislation, which also enabled mass surveillance, right? This was after this, but that wasn't done by Obama. That was done by George W. Bush. So Obama comes along, and with the Black president in charge of these agencies, the far right decided that President Obama was going to use these mechanisms to incarcerate them. On top of that, you had a Homeland Security report at the time that was released during President Obama's term that said that the majority of people who were caught up in and accused of domestic terrorism tended to be right-wing. So they combined that. First of all, they forced the Department of Homeland Security to retract that report out of just the outraged Republicans saying that how dare you say right-wingers are the majority of people who would commit domestic terrorism, even though that is the actual data. And then you combine that with their fear of FEMA camps. They were like, we've got to stand up for the Constitution. We can't allow concentration camps on our soil. On top of that, Alex Jones' listener base and the MAGA right base believed that Barack Obama was ineligible to be president in the first place because he was a secret Kenyan Muslim, basically an illegal immigrant and not a Christian, natural-born American. So they added that to it. But note that the theory had to do with taking right-wing true believers and putting them into concentration camps, something that they are completely silent on now. The fellow travelers, the Alex Jones of the world, are they saying anything about that now? Because here it is what is going on now. I want you guys to take a look at this report from a great group called More Perfect Union. Take a look.
Like just not hearing from him and not knowing if he was alive.
This is a modern day concentration camp. This is what this is. Because there's people dying in there. There's people being starved.
The private prison industry is set for a historic boom with President Donald Trump launching his mass deportation.
Shares of Geo Group and CoreCivic rose more than 50% since the election.
I've worked at CoreCivic for 32 years, and this is truly one of the most exciting periods in my career with the company.
Meet CoreCivic and Geo Group, the two publicly traded companies that have come to dominate the private prison industry.
Private prison companies, mainly Geo Group and CoreCivic, are champing at the bit at their prospects for big profits in 2025.
It's no secret that corporate America values lining their shareholders' pockets over any other values. But what happens when the model of profit-seeking over all else gets wrapped up in an industry where the bottom line is dependent on millions of human bodies?
It's akin to modern-day slavery.
And the only people profiting from this are these private companies and the government.
We talked to former detainees, correctional officers, community advocates, and attorneys who are all speaking out about CoreCivic and Geo Group. Our journey took us from Kansas to Nashville to remote detention facilities in rural Louisiana to explore how these companies are taking advantage of this moment to line their shareholders' pockets. In the towns we went to, private prisons had come to define the local economy, almost like a factory town in the past era.
Contrary to factory towns, those factories were producing things, right? Producing cars, etc. Here, they're not producing anything. They're causing pain and they're causing destruction to families across the country.
Okay, we're going to put a link to that whole report so that you can watch it after the show. We'll put it in the description of the show. But you see that? It turns out it's not FEMA that's created the concentration camps. It's private companies who donated to the current president, who maybe gave a bribe to Tom Homan in a kava bag, and they are reaping enormous profits doing the exact same thing that Alex Jones and them claimed that FEMA was going to do under Barack Obama. It's happening. It's just private companies are doing it at the behest of this Orwellian Department of Homeland Security. So the question is, my question is, where are the don't tread on me people now? Why are they so quiet when Donald Trump and his regime are doing the very same thing? The reason they're so quiet is because in their mind, it's not now going to be done to them, to these Second Amendment good, corn-eating patriots. It's going to be done to the people they claim are stealing elections, non-citizens. They believe that because it's being done to Black and brown mainly, but non-citizens, that the concentration camps are okay. They also believe that because the concentration camps are privately owned, it's okay. And they genuinely believe, if you go and look on their social media, they believe that there are millions and millions of non-citizens who are not just taking jobs, they're voting. They're the reason Republicans aren't winning elections. They're the reason their favorite Republican candidate is losing. They're the reason Donald Trump lost in 2020. This mass of non-citizens, see, they're the problem. And it's okay to do concentration camps for them. It's also the reason that these same people that don't tread on me conservatives are okay with the idea of the SAVE Act, which is the other thing that Alex Jones and company used to warn about back during the Obama era, a national ID. They used to be horrified by the very idea that there would be a national ID card in the country. The SAVE Act essentially creates a national ID because it would require every American to prove their citizenship to the satisfaction of the conservative Republican Party using a national document issued by not your state, but by the federal government. Meaning you'd have to go right to the very people who are questioning your citizenship and ask them for the only document, a passport, for instance, that you could use to vote. And if they say no, you're out of luck. If you've changed your name because you got married, you're out of luck. I don't know how J.D. Vance is going to vote. He's had 4 different names. The name on his voter registration cannot possibly be John Donald Hamel, which is his name. If you're trans and you've changed your name, you're out of luck. If you're a married woman and you've changed your name, out of luck. And the only people who can cure that are not your state. It's the federal government. This is a national ID. And they used to say that was tyranny, but now they're like, we're going to look the other way at that. We're going to look the other way at ICE brutality. Meanwhile, the don't tread on me people are also fine with their government using the state to squash the biggest crime against children, maybe in world history, which is contained in the Epstein files. And they're willing to do that to allow their government to suppress information, not just about billionaires who funded the government, who effectively created this government, but who are literally in the government. People who are currently in the government, who were in these Epstein files. They're being groomed now to let their government squash that truth and keep it from them and from the victims simply because Donald Trump says so.
Nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And in fact, if you look at the DOJ, they announced, they released 3 million pages. It's like this is all they're supposed to be doing. And frankly, the DOJ, I think, should just say, we have other things to do, because that whole thing has turned out, other than Bill Clinton and, Bill Gates and lots of people there are a lot of questions about it, but nothing on me. But it was even sort of better than that, because they found that Jeffrey Epstein and this sleazebag writer named Michael Wolff were conspiring against Donald Trump to lose the election. So right there, you know that I had nothing to do with this guy. But yeah, it's a terrible thing. The amount of time that's being wasted. When Epstein was alive, like 10 years ago, nobody cared about it. But they're only doing it. But now it's really hitting back on them because Bill Clinton is such a big part of it. The Democrats are pushing it. And the problem is that it's turning out to be the Democrats that were with and conspired with Epstein. So I think you're probably going to see a little pullback from that.
Note that he never mentions the victims. It's a shame what they're doing to Donald Trump. And his base, the don't tread on me people, they're fine with that. The federal government, meanwhile, is demanding that the social media sites that you use, Reddit, Google, Meta, social media sites that you use, Rumble, whoever you're using, turn over the identities of any users who post against ICE. These are the same people who went apoplectic about Twitter taking down their posts about taking horse paste. But they're okay with this. Let me read this from the Seattle Times. In recent months, Google, Reddit, Discord, and Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, have received hundreds of administrative subpoenas from DHS, according to 4 government officials and tech employees privy to the request. They spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly. Google, Meta, and Reddit complied with some of the requests. The government officials said in the subpoenas, the department asked the companies for identifying details of accounts that do not have a real person's name attached and that have criticized ICE or pointed to the locations of ICE agents. The New York Times saw 2 subpoenas that were sent to Meta over the past 6 months. The tech companies, which can choose whether or not to provide the information, have said they review government requests before complying. Some of the companies notified the people whom the government had requested data on and gave them 10 to 14 days to fight the subpoenas in court. Requested data and gave them 10 to fight the subpoenas in court. The government is taking more liberties than they used to, said Steve Loney, a senior supervising attorney with the American Civil Liberties Union of Pennsylvania. It's a whole other level of frequency and lack of accountability. Over the past 6 months, Loney has represented people whose social media account information was sought by DHS. The department said it has broad administrative support authority, but did not address questions about its request. In court, its lawyers have argued that they are seeking information to help ICE agents in the field feel safe. So again, where are the civil liberties conservatives who screamed about, Facebook and Twitter? How dare you, censor my posts about taking ivermectin or, drinking alkaline water to fight COVID or angry that they didn't allow the right to post raw pics of Hunter Biden's junk on Twitter. Where are those people now? Because your government is now saying, I can go and I can unmask your identity on YouTube. Some of you guys are in here and you're not using maybe your real name. How do you like the idea of the government saying, I don't like what Deborah Taylor just said on Substack? Let's find out if that's her real name. Give me her address, phone number, and I want to see her whole search history. I want to know what this person is saying. Art by Bun Bun. I don't like what they're saying on YouTube over here in this chat. They said they don't like ICE. They said F ICE. I need their name, address, and an entire search history on them. We're going to do a background check. Maybe the FBI might knock on your door. They're doing that to suppress criticism of a secret police force, which is stopping people on the street based solely on their accent or the color of their skin or their location, Home Depot, etc. All of the things that are basically what Alex Jones used to say that Barack Obama was going to do to the right. It's all being done. Not just to undocumented immigrants, but to American citizens, military veterans, immigrants with green cards. This is happening every day, and they're just silent. Meanwhile, Fox, which is state TV, is helping to launder Jeffrey Epstein. Literally, they're helping Donald Trump by grooming their viewers to maybe feel not so badly about Jeffrey Epstein at all.
Yes.
Ooh, do we have that one?
A6. It looks like he's mostly just a fixer, a guy who advises. He helps people with their problems. Sometimes those problems are, you need a girl.
Or some penicillin.
Or some, if you need it, he's got it.
He's a sex rabbi.
He should perform at the halftime show next year.
Yes.
Jeffrey Epstein, so funny, sex rabbi. Seriously? That is what Fox is hearing about Jeffrey Epstein. It's not that big of a deal. He's just a sex rabbi. This, of course, is the same network that groomed their viewers to be Obama-fearing Tea Partiers who believed that he was not born in the United States. They also groomed their viewers to believe that Donald Trump actually won the 2020 election, that it was stolen, a lie for which they, meaning their insurance company, paid out $787 million in a settlement to a voting machine company that's now owned by a Republican former election official who can now fix the elections the other way. So yay. So no worries about those stolen elections going forward. Am I right? Because now a Republican owns it. Dominion, gone. It's not owned by the same people. It's owned by somebody who's on their side. So yay. All of this while Donald Trump is relentlessly attacking a Republican, Thomas Massie, who felt the need to note on Twitter that as he is pushing for the full release of the Epstein files, only about half have been released of the 6 million available files, about 3 million has come out. He went and posted on Twitter, I'm not suicidal. That is an odd thing for a member of Congress to post. He posted, I'm not suicidal. There it is. I eat healthy food. The brakes on my car and truck are in good shape. I practice good trigger discipline and never point a gun at anyone, including myself. There are no deep pools of water on my farm, and I'm a pretty good swimmer. That's an odd thing for a member of Congress to post, right? And I will note that it is almost the exact same thing, not in all those words, but the same sentiment that a young woman named Virginia Giuffre, who was the first very public Epstein accuser, also posted in December of 2019, months after Jeffrey Epstein's supposed suicide that August. She herself, having posted, I'm not suicidal, wound up dead at 41 years old the following April, reportedly by suicide. Her post, I'm making it publicly known that in no way, shape, or form am I suicidal. I've made this known to my therapist and GP, or general practitioner. If something happens to me, In the sake of my family, do not let this go away and help me to protect them. Too many evil people want to see me quieted. She was dead. That was December. By April, she's dead, allegedly by suicide as well. So, I mean, what does Thomas Massie have to fear, right? Like the old Republicans say, what he has to fear is his government. And some in Virginia Giuffre's family said she did die of suicide. That is the official story of it. But just saying, it's weird. Now, Massie said in December that one of Kash Patel, the FBI's deputies, threatened to drum up a fake fraud charge against one of his staffers if he did not disclose the identity of the whistleblower in the January 6th pipe bomber case. This video has been going around, so I want to play it because people are circulating and saying it's about Epstein, but it is not. But this is a very real threat that he reports he received from the FBI. This is A9.
This here on camera because it's important. One of Kash Patel's staff threatened my staff with a criminal investigation if we didn't straighten up and play ball.
I was going to ask you about that, but since you brought it up, and I didn't
I'm bringing it up.
Okay, you brought it up.
And so, like a criminal investigation having nothing to do, he said it was going to be a fraud. We're going to investigate one of your staff for fraud. Right. And he told another one of my staff this. If you guys don't straighten up, if you want to play hardball, if this is how you want to play it or something like that, this member of your staff is going to get criminally investigated for fraud. A very specific threat.
Right.
And that had just happened. So I told Bongino, I said, one of your guys is threatening my guys with an FBI investigation if we don't do what you want.
Okay, we can leave it there.
And he said, I'll take care of that. I'll take care of that. Because even he understood that was not a good look.
Mm-hmm. That was about the whistleblower case. But you have an FBI that is going all J. Edgar Hoover again. And this is a guy, by the way, who is not, some shrinking liberal violet. This is a guy who's a sitting congressman and also a guy with a whole lot of guns at home. Do y'all remember this? He's got not a few guns, but a lot of guns. He once got in a tad bit of controversy for posting that for Christmas. That was his Christmas gun pick with his family. So they each got one. Here is Massey's, Jason, let me know when you've got it, explanation for why Donald Trump, in his view, is so fearful of the Epstein files coming out.
It's that simple.
Why do you think he is working so hard not to get them released for so many months? What do you think the real reason is?
These files implicate billionaires and friends of his and political donors that he's trying to protect. And Epstein also had close ties to our own intelligence agencies and Israel's intelligence agencies. That's why there's so much effort in trying to stop this. And I do believe they'll try to stop it somewhere else. And that's going to backfire on them too.
So the president.
To which Marjorie Taylor Greene, Israel's intelligence agencies. Interesting, right? He apparently had ties to Israel's intelligence agencies. This is the sitting member of Congress who's all in the files. He's seen them. And to our intelligence agencies, to which Marjorie Taylor Greene added on a recent podcast, which I think this is Jillian Michaels that she's talking to.
Thomas Massie, nonstop attacking Thomas Massie. And then one day I get a phone call from the president in September, and he is so mad at me. And he's yelling at me and he's angry at me. And the fact that he's like, you're supporting Rand Paul Jr. and he's chewing me out for signing my name on Thomas Massie's discharge petition to release the Epstein files. And I'm trying to tell him, Mr. President, they say you did nothing wrong. Right. This needs to come out. Right. And so we're having this argument. And he tells me on this phone call, he's like, Marjorie, my friends will get hurt.
That's it. That's it. I mean, that is it. Obviously, that's it. Because they're all in here. Imagine the phone calls. It's everyone. It's every single person is on this freaking list.
Yeah. Thanks, Jillian, for your contributions to the cause. Yeah. Everyone's on the list. Jeffrey Epstein was an investor in Peter Thiel's company. Steve Bannon apparently was buddy close to him, making a documentary to try to rehabilitate his reputation. Epstein was all over Harvard. The guy who owned Victoria's Secret let him manage all his money, gave him a house for free. I mean, every tech bro billionaire from Elon on down, all of them, everyone who's essentially running our country right now, it appears has some tie to the Epstein files. It's like all of the right wing's conspiracy theories are all coming true at once, including even Pizzagate, maybe. Within the 3 million released documents, which apparently constitute less than 5% of what the government actually has, the word pizza appeared 911 times as of February 2nd. Those 60 references have since been removed. Vanity Fair reports more from their article, quote, the references span years, from long before Pizzagate existed to long after it was broadly considered debunked. What time do you want to get pizza and grape soda tomorrow? One associate asked Epstein in 2018. A 2015 subject line reads, your pizza is yummy, yummy, all caps. This is better than a Chinese cookie. Let's go for pizza and grape soda again. No one else can understand. A redacted sender writes it to Epstein in 2018. But it's the sheer amount of repetition that has reopened the conspiracy box online across X, TikTok, and Reddit. Google queries for Pizzagate spiked over the weekend, and a TikTok video focused on the strange use of pizza in the files with the caption, the elites sure love a pizza party, has received more than 1 million views and has been spammed with comments like, we already knew this years ago and we're called crazy. QAnon was an op to hide this SHIT in plain sight and make anyone who said anything about it sound like a lunatic. They masked it in a far right, it's only the Dems cover, argued one Reddit user, gloating about projection people fell for. The pizza basement was Epstein Island all along, wrote another. Sure seems like it. All of these conspiracy theories that seemed crazy turn out to be true. It's just not about the people they said. It's about everyone Donald Trump is empowering. And it just gets more and more insane from there. From the direct references to 10-year-olds in these files, literally emails to Jeffrey Epstein pointing out that there were 10-year-olds available. That's in the files. I don't know if you can see it circled there. 10-year-olds. To the apparent dentist chair.
I'm sorry, Joy, 9-year-old.
9. Oh, sorry. And that one, it's 9. I'm sorry. I put the 9-year-old one instead of the 10-year-old in. There's multiple. But that's the one about a 9-year-old. Then you've got the dentist chair. Have you guys seen this one? The dentist chair that was photographed in one of Jeffrey Epstein's homes, which allegedly was used to remove children's teeth so that the victims could not bite. Yeah, we're not mad enough, y'all. We're not mad enough. It's like every single conspiracy theory in the last 30 years is turning out to be true. It's just we had the perps wrong. And now Donald Trump is protecting all of them, while masking it in the right's favorite thing, out and out racism against Black people and immigrants. He just thinks I can just throw racist and racism out there and his base will eat it up because they'll just forget about QAnon. They'll forget about Pizzagate. They'll forget about FEMA camps. They'll forget about all the things they've been screaming about for a generation, and they'll move on to focus on the Blacks and the immigrants. I want to play you guys one more clip from our favorite new public racist, Jeremy Carl, as he was being questioned by Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy.
How you define white identity and what you think is being erased about white identity?
Certain types of Anglo-derived culture that comes from our history.
Like what?
Let me think about this. Senator, I would say if you were to look at the book by one of your former Senate colleagues, Born Fighting, about the sort of Scotch-Irish military culture and certain, pride that went with that, that would be one example. Obviously, you could have sub-elements of that culture. You could have Italians, you could have Irish, and those are in many ways more.
Yeah, but you're worried about white culture. You're not worried about, you're now retreating to ethnic identity. You don't speak about ethnic identity. You speak about white identity. So tell me the values that stitch together white identity and that make it different than Black identity.
I would say that the white church is very different than the Black church in terms of its tone and style on average. Foodways could often be different.
And those music
could be different.
And those are being erased.
Music could be different. Well, if you look at the Super Bowl halftime show, which was not in English this year.
So our ability to access white churches or white food or white music is being erased?
I am concerned with the majority common American culture that we had for some time that through particularly mass immigration, I think has become much more balkanized, and I think that weakens us. And again, I'm not running away from that comment. I'm not apologizing for it.
Well, I'm way over my time. I think you're struggling to answer this question, right? Because underlying your beliefs is a sentiment that white culture is just simply better.
You know what culture you need to worry about, buddy? The culture of mass abuse of children in America and in the Western world that you so prize. This is the part where I mentioned to you all that actually Jeremy Carl was born Jewish. He was born to a Jewish family and converted to Christianity. He's like Stephen Miller without the subtlety. He's not Scotch-Irish at all. For all his love of the Scotch-Irish, he ain't one of them. He's Jewish. These guys are really bad at doing white nationalism. They keep on bringing in the non-Aryans to do the white nationalism. Like every time we turn around, one of the other white nationalists turns out to be either like actually Jewish or maybe black or maybe like a black Latino. Like they're just so bad at this. They cannot find any actual Aryans to do their master race thing. It's just really kind of actually sad. And also, nobody please let him know that the former Assistant Secretary of State, the job he wants, Alan Keyes had that job. So actually, he would be the one that's DEI because he'd be taking a job Alan Keyes had. So he's the great replacement. It makes no sense. But the bottom line is, much like the old Tea Party ideology, these people refuse to see the conspiracies right in front of them, the actual concentration camps, not the ones they claimed Obama was going to put their people in, the actual mass voter ID the national ID that they so feared, the idea that they're not warehousing right wingers, they're warehousing immigrants for profit. They're not mass deporting them. That's why Nick Fuentes is so angry. They're not mass deporting people. They've actually deported fewer people than Obama or Biden. They're mass warehousing them for private profit. It is like the slavery system. And meanwhile, they're using this mass profit and pain as a distraction for the thing they're really covering up, which is the Epstein files. Jason, I don't know if you have A19, because at this point, they're so desperate to make you forget about the Epstein files. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, is classifying the contents of the remaining Epstein files, which the DOJ has said they ain't releasing nothing else, despite the law. He's classifying what's left as national security.
All right. Number 5, national security concerns, okay? The discharge requires the Attorney General to release within 30 days, quote, classified information to the maximum extent possible. This ignores the principle that declassification should always rest, and always has rested, with the agency that originated the intelligence. Why? So that they can protect their critical sources and methods. It is incredibly dangerous to demand that officials or employees of the DOJ declassify materials that originated in other agencies, in intelligence agencies.
What intelligence agencies? What does intelligence agencies have to do with supposed mass deportation? And by the way, why is Bibi Netanyahu back in Washington again for like the 6th time since last February? He's been here every other month since February 4th, 2025. Why is that? And why is there no alarm about this, from the libertarian right, about this domestic security agency that has the ability to knock down anybody's door they want, smash into the windows of any car, drag any person, citizens or not, into a truck and detain them or ship them off to a private prison or to a country they've never been to, spending $300 million or so in the process, or to actual concentration camps out of the reach of the law or lawyers and held by privateers? Why are they okay with an agency that has a budget larger than the military budgets of at least 23 countries worldwide and more funding than the armies of most countries in the world and larger than the funding for the FBI? In fact, while Trump and Republicans failed to pass literally anything that made your life more affordable or better, they did manage to stuff their big, ugly bill through with tax cuts for the very people in the Epstein files, then called it beautiful, plus annual funding that would place ICE among the top 20 largest military spenders on earth, ranking either between 17th and 20th worldwide. Why do they need that? Do they need that to remove like 250,000 people that they've removed, these high priority immigrants they claim they've removed? What do they need that for? This is the question that I think people need to ask. One last video I want to play for you. And this is Kristi Noem may be answering the question about what they want to do with this SAVE Act.
Is another one of those critical infrastructure responsibilities that I have as well. And I would say that many people believe that it may be one of the most important things that we need to make sure we trust is reliable, and that when it gets to election day that we've been proactive to make sure that we have the right people voting, electing the right leaders to lead this country through the days that we have, knowing that people can trust it.
See what you're seeing. Understand what they're hiding and what they're willing to do and how far they're willing to go to keep you from being able to vote, to see more, and to get the truth. All right, let's take a quick ad break. We have a really great guest coming up very shortly, but we could not do this program or independent media at all without the support of our amazing sponsors. And this show is being brought to you by our friends at Helix. Now, the question for you is how you're navigating this chilly season, because it is cold. It's actually getting slightly better, but it's still cold. And at night, what you really need is not only comfort and warmth, but actually to sleep well. And to have a great day the next day, sleeping well is actually really important. So if you're dealing with night sweats or back pain or motion transfer, or your arm is numb because you're rolled on your side, your mattress might be the problem. So Helix has this wonderful thing called the Helix Sleep Quiz. It matches you with the perfect mattress based on your own personal preferences and your sleep needs, which makes buying a breeze. It is an award-winning mattress, maybe the most award-winning mattress brand. It's been tested and reviewed by Forbes and Wired and others. They give you free shipping, seamless delivery. They deliver that mattress right to your door. Easy peasy. And they also give you a happy with Helix guarantee. You rest easy with seamless returns and exchanges. It means that if you're not completely satisfied with your new mattress, they will take it back. Even after 120 nights of sleep, that's your sleep trial, 120 nights, and a lifetime warranty thereafter. So if a study has shown that 82% of those who were involved in a sleep test that they did with Helix saw an increase in their sleep cycle, their deep sleep cycle, while sleeping on a Helix mattress. So if you would like to give it a try, just go to helixsleep.com/joy for 27% off site-wide. This offer is exclusive to our Team TJRS audience. So that is helixsleep.com/joy. You get 27% off site-wide. Just remember to enter our show name after checkout so that they know that we sent you. Thank you very much for listening. helixsleep.com/joy. So that's that. All right, I want you guys to take a listen. As a right-wing lawyer named Cleta Mitchell explains why the regime seized those ballots in Fulton County, Georgia.
I'm going to tell you what the search warrant covers. These are the records that are particular things to be seized. I love that word. All records relating to violations of Title 52 United States Code, Section 20701, which is the Federal Election Records Act. And so all physical ballots from the 2020 general election, including but not limited to absentee ballots, every type of ballot, whether cast, spoiled, provisional, etc. All tabulator tapes for every voting machine used in Fulton County, including but not limited to the zero tapes. Those are the tapes that are supposed to say, we ran this test and there were zero ballots tabulated at the opening of the polls. Closing tapes. Now, mind you, these are all fraudulent. We think that the ones that they have presented are fraudulent. That's one of the things you need to know. But all the opening tapes, closing tapes, and any other tabulator tape from any voting machine that was utilized in the general election in Fulton County in 2020, all the ballot images, because we know that there were ballot images that were destroyed for hundreds of thousands of ballots in Fulton County that came in, absentee ballots that mysteriously appeared after November 4th of 2020, the day after the general election. So all ballot images during the original ballot count and the recounts, because none of those match, by the way. All voter rolls. What they're really asking for here is not the voter rolls. It's not like the other lawsuit.
Okay. Joining me now is Georgia State Representative Ruwa Romman, who's also a candidate for governor. Representative Romman, thank you so much for being here. Welcome back to the show. Do you have any idea what she's talking about? Because it seems to me that what Cleta Mitchell, who is a far right-wing lawyer, Google her if you guys are not familiar with her, she seems to be trying to imply that all of the ballots effectively cast in Fulton County in 2020 were fraudulent.
Yeah, this is once again massive cope from a group of people that cannot comprehend that there are Georgians that think differently than them. The reality is that we have litigated this and relitigated this and continue to relitigate this for over 6 years now. And it's clear to me that they are deeply angry that our coalition continues to outnumber them, not as consistently as we would like, but this is what it looks like when people are so used to having power start to lose it. They reach for conspiracy rather than the most clear reason, which is that more of us voted than them.
The idea that this woman is claiming, and this is a conspiracy theory that we started this whole show talking about conspiracy theories, and then there are real conspiracies that they don't actually see right in front of their faces. They think that it's a conspiracy, that people vote on election day, people voted pre-election in early voting, and then people who voted absentee, their ballots might get mailed in like on election day and they get counted after. They think that those ballots that are counted after election day are made up and fake. Can you explain to people who maybe don't understand how absentee balloting works, why it could be that a ballot might come in 2 days after the election but still count?
Absolutely. So what we're looking at is specifically the postmark date of a ballot. Different states have different laws, but for us, as long as your ballot is postmarked on election day, depending on the jurisdiction, they will count that ballot. That's just a lot of fancy term for saying you put that in the mailbox and the, local mail distribution center had stamped it as that date, meaning that it can be counted. It doesn't mean that the person went and sent it in after the fact. It simply means that, hey, this stuff takes time. Think about somebody going to your mailbox, grab your mail person, right? They grab your mail, they take it to a specific facility that sorts it all out. They stamp those different envelopes for whatever date they received it, and then they send it out. That process, because of how much mail there is, takes a lot of time. And I want to remind folks, by the way, if y'all have been paying attention, they just changed regulations to change what it means for something to be postmarked so that it's not when let's just say you decide to physically go to your local UPS, FedEx, whatever the case may be. They're now saying that it is the date when it goes to the other distribution centers that are much more consolidated and way bigger.
So they're trying to game the postmark system. And I will note that Louis DeJoy, who was put in by Donald Trump the first time, the Biden administration did not bother to try to remove him. So he's still in charge. And there were a lot of allegations that he was trying to slow the mail down because Donald Trump does not believe that there should even be mail-in ballots at all. Are you concerned that Fulton County will not only have these ballots having been, seized, God knows what they're going to do with them, but that the mail might get slowed down to make absentee balloting harder?
I want to be clear, the chain of custody on those ballots has now been broken. So anything the Trump administration says, there is very little that they can do to prove it because they did not take the proper procedure in order to ensure that those ballots continue to sort of have the specific chain of custody on those ballots. But to your question specifically about slowing down mail, we've already
hold on before you get there, but since you set up, I'm going to break this question up and let you say more on this because do you fear that they're going to alter the ballots?
It's not there. To me, it's important to be careful, right? I don't necessarily know if they are going to alter the ballots. We don't know anything. For all we know is that they can start to pull out ballots that they think might look fraudulent, or they try to match up two people that don't match up at all because the handwriting might look similar, not the same. I want to be very clear. We're talking about similar, not same here. We've already seen them start to do that. And so my concern is that they are going to start essentially like mixing up these ballots, trying to make things up. We also know they're very incompetent, right? That they are they cannot be trusted to keep track of, oh, we already counted this ballot. Oh, we're now counting it again. For all we know, they're the ones who don't know how to count. I want to be clear, y'all. I was actually there in 2020. I actually watched the auditing process right here in Gwinnett County. And the way it works is you have two people, one from each party, that they both have to decide what they just counted is correct, right? You have a Republican and a Democrat saying, this is what this ballot said. And it happened thousands of times over. So they had this sort of observation area where you could just stand over them and literally watch them do this. And I don't know what more they want to understand that y'all lost. And it's so infuriating that we're wasting time, energy, and money because of an old man who is senile and cannot believe that he lost the state of Georgia. And last but not least, if this was some kind of, cheating Donald Trump out of his office or whatever, how come we won the runoff? How come we reelected Warnock in 2022 and then did it again in another runoff in 2022? What about all the down ballot races? Why aren't they questioning those when we flipped at the time over 18 seats? It's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. Let's talk about the mail situation because I think that is one concern. If you could, do you have concerns about what will happen with absentee ballots?
Oh, I have concerns about everything. People get their prescriptions through their mail. And my concern is that what about people who need their medications? And those are life-saving medications, right? When it comes to ballots, when somebody goes in on election day and turns their ballot into the post office, they don't realize that, oh, it doesn't count as being postmarked that day. It's going to count as postmarked for whatever day they get it to that sort of local facility. Now, don't forget that they also reduce the number of mail drop-off mailboxes that we have around the state, because for us, we had people calling us in 2022 and even 2024 asking, where can I drop off my mail-in ballot? And we had to tell them, hey, your closest one is somewhere in the middle of the county. I think by the end of it, Gwinnett only had 5 or 6 drop-off locations. That's just not enough. And when you're slowing down mail, you're impacting people's health, you're impacting people's access to the ballot box. And again, Republicans cannot win. They know they cannot win, and they're trying to figure out ways to cheat.
I will note that Donald Trump did send on his Timu Twitter, his Truth Social machine, that they want to nationalize elections and end all mail-in balloting. Just so that y'all know, I didn't even put it up. He can't do that. Like, that is actually not something he can do. He can say that if he wants, but as the representative has said, he might be sundowning when he's posting things like that. But one of the things that they could do, Representative, is pass this SAVE Act. Now, it has passed the House. It has not passed the Senate. But if it passed, how would that impact Georgians? How would it impact people in your district? Because, not everybody has the ability to find their original birth certificate. Sometimes it's expensive to go and get it, or the place is closed, you can't get it. And not everybody has a passport.
Yep. Exactly. And it's so interesting to me that they chose to pass this, because this actually impacts their people way more of ours, right? This actually, if we didn't care about voting access, we would just say, you know what, pass it. Y'all are going to lose forever if you pass this bill. But I need people to understand that nobody is arguing that, people shouldn't identify themselves when they're voting or whatever the case may be. But the reality is that IDs cost money. IDs cost time. And if we are serious about, quote unquote, securing elections, which, by the way, after studying billions of ballots over time, there has been no proof that there has been widespread fraud at all. I need to stress that. But again, with the SAVE Act, what it's saying is you need a birth certificate that matches, essentially what your ID is. And if you're someone who changed their last name when they got married, tough luck. Now you are going to end up not being able to vote because you changed your name when you got married. Most people don't change their birth certificate after they get married. That's not a thing that happens. Most people, especially on their side, don't have passports. And so it's strange to me they continue to move down this path, because we've also argued here in Georgia, every time they've changed voting rules, it's actually impacted rural people as well, and specifically Republican voters. It's almost as if they don't realize that, hey, our people deal with the same things everyone else does.
Yeah, and the name change situation will impact married women. And to your point, Democrats tend to win more unmarried women. And it's the reason J.D. Vance, who, by the way, he's changed his name 4 times. I don't know how he's going to vote under the SAVE Act, because he's had all sorts of different names. I don't know what's on his birth certificate, but it sure ain't J.D. Vance. So I don't know how he's going to vote. And then on top of that, you've got the fact that married women tend to vote Republican. And so if they make it so that married women can't vote unless they somehow find a way to match their birth certificate to their voter rolls, which they can't do because they changed their name, it will cut their voting. But I mean, they don't want their women to vote. Let's just be clear. They don't think women should vote at all. So.
It's deeply tragic. And y'all, I cannot stress enough, as someone who's been in Georgia, I always like to tell folks that my city council member won his election by 4 votes in 2021. No exaggeration, 4 votes. And it just happened to be that, I was going to the grocery store, saw the vote here sign. My grandfather just passed away, and it was the first time I'd forgotten about an election, and called my husband and my neighbors, and we voted together. And they would not be trying this hard if our votes don't matter. And I want to be abundantly clear here. I firmly believe that we should not preemptively essentially quit, right? We should not preemptively quit, because we can't let them win. They know they're losing. They know that the only way to win elections this year is if they cheat. And it is incumbent upon us to build those relationships with our neighbors, with our friends, with our family, keep them educated on what they need to do to update their voter registration, their voter locations, literally in your phone. Put your election dates in your phone and a reminder to check your voter registration as election day comes up, because our goal, at least for our gubernatorial campaign, and why we've built a statewide field program, is to make sure that we remind voters of their power and then turn them out to exercise that power.
Representative, one of the main reasons that they are desperate to win this election, there are two. One is to continue to suppress the Epstein files. And the second, of course, is so that ICE cannot be reined in any way. We know that, unfortunately, the Democratic leadership is very reluctant to rid us of ICE or to close down the Department of Homeland Security. They seem to be married to it, just like the Republicans, but they would actually try to reform it. I want to play some video that we got in from your team. Because there's a detention center. It's called the Stewart Detention Center. And I want to play a little bit of this video and then get your comments on the other side. Jason, let me know when you've got it. Okay, it's B2. Okay, B2, you can pull it up together. Describe to it while we wait for that. Tell us what that is.
Yeah, this was a press conference.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Thank you for doing that. Good afternoon, everybody. As my colleagues have mentioned, we had the opportunity today to visit Stewart Detention Center, and we had the opportunity to speak to multiple detainees. And unfortunately, we saw a pattern emerge as we spoke with them. I'm going to share one of their stories and then actually directly connect it to our most recent budget that we are working on passing right here in our state for this legislative session. One of the detainees I spoke with has no criminal record, is an asylum seeker from Iran, and has been in detention for almost a year. He recently had the opportunity to be seen by a doctor not inside the detention facility, and that doctor informed him that if he cannot get the care he needs soon, he will die. I want to repeat that. This is an individual with no criminal history, an active asylum case, and by the way, a judge has ruled that he is not deportable. So why is he still being detained? It is unacceptable, it is shameful, and it is cruel. But it is also part of an incredibly troubling trend right here in our state. Those names that you just heard read out loud were people with families and loved ones who missed them.
Representative, it seems to me, and I don't know if you can confirm this just from having visited that detention center, that what we're seeing is not the mass deportation that Donald Trump promised his base. It's mass detention. It's warehousing for the profit of these private prisons.
Exactly. The thing that I feel like many people have not connected the dots on is this has become essentially a brand new sector, or actually it's not even a brand new sector, right? This private prison industrial complex has been around for generations. But the problem is now the Trump administration has decided that they want to prioritize those same private prison CEOs and their profits, and are now filling up these detention beds with immigrants, many of whom do not have a criminal record. In fact, I was speaking to somebody the other day who was asking, I explained this has become sort of a financially incentivized practice. And he said, well, they're just behind and they're backlogged. They don't have enough attorneys to try all these cases. Exactly. Because having attorneys to try those cases does not make a profit for their CEO friends. It does not increase for their shareholder values. It does not put more money in the pockets of the same people trying to rig our elections. And if you look, the number of detainees has increased dramatically, but the number of deportations has not. It is an incredibly troubling trend.
Indeed, they cannot prove that they're deporting more people, to the point where their own base is getting angry about it. They're just holding people in concentration camps and warehousing them for money. Last question to you: do you have any evidence as of now that they're starting to use that detained labor? Which, by the way, it's better for them to not be criminals, because then they're people that you can lease out. You can lease that labor out because they're not criminals, because they're not violent, because they're not dangerous. That's the perfect kind of captive that you can effectively lease out as leased/slave labor.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is a massive industry in the state of Georgia, and they are already using detained labor for free labor. In fact, the money that we give these private prisons, we can't actually look at how they're using it. And one of the detainees explained to us that because they don't have enough maintenance staff, they've actually had detainees do the job of maintenance crew members, do the job of, for example, people whose job it is to make sure that everything is organized. They've actually had them sort of do the jobs of experts that are supposed to be there that aren't doing it. And the issue right now is there is little to no oversight on that side of it, because they consider that proprietary information, meaning exactly that it is, in fact, modern day slavery. This is the constitutional loophole that many people speak about in the 13th Amendment. It is both on a federal and state level. It's why I've authored a bill to essentially close that loophole and ensure that nobody is allowed to be forced to work without pay. But unfortunately, this is modern day slavery, and it has sort of exploded over the past few months in particular.
If you become governor, what is your plan to do something about that?
We want to end private prisons in the state of Georgia. There is no reason for us to have them, especially when already existing prisons and jails are really losing out on a lot of resources. People should not be making profit off of caging human beings.
Indeed. If people want to support your campaign, Representative Romman, where can they do that?
Thank you. Find us at ruwaforgeorgia.com. We are a very much people-powered campaign. If you were to describe our donors, they are people who don't have lobbyists on speed dial. I want to be clear. We can win. We just need to be able to show up, especially in the primary, but also, y'all, these midterms that are coming up, we have the opportunity to not only flip the governor's mansion, but also the state house, and we can absolutely do it together. Do not let anybody scare you into giving up your right to vote, because it is the thing that terrifies them the most right now.
Indeed. Look, if you're not getting money from anybody in the Epstein files or from AIPAC, you're pretty much halfway there as far as I'm concerned.
No AIPAC, no corporate money. We've raised over $250,000, and y'all, we just, if we can raise that again over the next few months, we are running for the fences.
All right. Well, keep us posted, Representative Romman. We really appreciate you. We love what you're doing. And this show tends to back winners. So the chats are loving you. You're getting a lot of applause there and a lot of hearts going up. So best to you, and come back soon.
Thank you for covering Georgia, y'all. Where we go, the rest of the country goes.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Good sis. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. And you heard it here. Y'all understand, right? Are you getting it now? I've said this a lot, and I get in trouble for saying it. People get mad at me when I say it. The status quo ante is what they want. The status quo ante is slavery. That era, that founding era of the country is what they crave again. It's the reason they are erasing Black history. It's the reason that they're attempting to erase the history in Philadelphia. By the way, a federal judge has now forced these people, the regime, to put back the exhibit regarding the slaves that were held both by George Washington and John Adams in Philadelphia. Yes.
Who do you think is getting a kickback from these private prisons? That would allow. I mean, somebody has to be getting paid. I mean, even though the CEO's getting paid, but there's got to be some kickback going.
Well, I mean, the Occam's razor is Donald Trump.
Of course, that's my point.
Right. I mean, of course. And Donald Trump, by the way, he didn't even get a kickback. They donated millions to his campaign. Two of his top donors were Core Civic.
I get it.
And these companies gave him money to get in office in the first place, right? So they put money in his super PAC.
Biggest. I mean, the whole entire. It's the whole thing. It's going to be 4 years of scamming.
It's really 10 if you go back to when he first came up the elevator. This is a scam. They're not. And by the way, to all of you MAGA people who hate immigrants and want them deported, they're not deporting them. They're not deporting them. They're warehousing them in concentration camps. They're warehousing them in private prisons. And there's a reason they're taking the ones without criminal records. You fools. They want the non-criminal ones. You can't send a rapist to go work at McDonald's for $1 an hour. And they've got businesses in their state that need cheap labor. And you certainly can't send a murderer to do that. You're going to send the little arepa lady who's a hard worker and honest. They want the ones without criminal record. Do you see it now?
No,
they want the ones without criminal records.
The sad thing is, how long do you let these innocent people languish inside these private prisons? I mean, since there's no, due process, nothing. So, do they stay there till death? So do they start breeding them in prison too?
Well, we'll see. The bottom line
or are they just going to get more and more and more? Because this is just crazy.
You mean, is it going to be Caribbean slavery or American slavery?
How else are they going to keep the gravy train going?
Right. They have to keep it going. And the bottom line is this. This is what you guys really have to. I mean, there is an Irish gentleman who the Irish government is demanding his release. I think he was held for something like he's been held for something like months and months and months. It's an Irish guy. They've got him too. Again, you have to get this. If they really cared about only getting the worst of the worst, they would go and try to deport people out of prisons. They would say, if you've got undocumented people who've been convicted of a violent crime in your prison, hand them over. That's what Tom Homan claims they want to do. But note what he said. If you don't give us the people in your prisons, who, by the way, if you take them out of the prison before their sentence is completed, that means you're going to unleash them in their own country as a violent criminal. Is that what you're doing? To put them into just release them back where they came from, not having served their sentence? That doesn't even make sense. But he's saying if you don't do that, we're going to come in your communities and we're going to take anybody we want. And we're going to keep taking people until you comply. But the people they're taking are not criminals. Some of them are military veterans. Some of them have served our country. These are people who are construction workers. They are field workers. But the most important word in that is workers. They want the workers, and they want to put the good, honest workers and children. Because remember, this is a party that is not against child labor. They're going to use them for labor. Let me read you guys this headline real quick before I forget about it, because it is Black History Month and they are losing in the courts. And this was a big win. A federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to restore an exhibit about slavery that was removed last month. This is People magazine I'm reading from, and cited an infamous warning about totalitarianism in the process. On Monday, February 16, U.S. District Judge Cynthia M. Rufi granted a preliminary injunction in favor of the city of Philadelphia regarding the federal government's alteration of the president's house in Independence National Park. The house is the site of the presidential residence used by the first two U.S. presidents, George Washington and John Adams. In 2010, an open-air exhibit was installed in the park as a memorial to 9 people who were enslaved by Washington at the time. On January 23rd, National Park Service workers were seen removing 34 panels and video displays about slavery, including some titled Life Under Slavery and The Dirty Business of Slavery, per the outlet. In her memorandum, Judge Rufi referenced George Orwell's famous dystopian novel 1984 as she halted the Trump administration's efforts to erase references to slavery from the historic site. As if the Ministry of Truth in George Orwell's 1984 now existed, with its motto, ignorance is strength. This court is now asked to determine whether the federal government has the power it claims to dissemble and disassemble historical truths when it has some domain over historical facts. It does not, she wrote. The judge also wrote that the removal of the displays was unlawful, arbitrary, and capricious, and caused irreparable harm by erasing historical truth and undermining public trust. She ordered that all panels and video exhibits be reinstalled, and further alterations must come with a mutual written agreement with the city of Philadelphia. This is not only good news for the city of Philadelphia and for the president's house there, it's good news for the Smithsonian. This is setting down a marker that this administration cannot remove public displays of historical truth without getting the permission and the acquiescence of the city in which these things exist, or the institutions that have agreements to have them. They are not going to be able to erase it. But to go back to what we were saying, the reason they want to erase it, as Jason was just saying, the reason they want to erase your memory, to wipe your memory with like the flashy thing in Independence Day. What movie was it with the flashy thing?
Men in Black.
Men in Black. They want to do a Men in Black because they don't want you to understand what they're doing with these Black and brown and a few white immigrants. They want them not deported. They want them incarcerated so they can use them as free labor. This is my tuition. You be teaching $9.99 from FRP Knox. Thank you very much, FRP Knox. Please hit like and subscribe. We appreciate that. Before we move on, I want to thank our other sponsor on tonight, because this sponsor is really important. They sponsor so many progressive, independent media enterprises, and they really do incredible, important work. The Freedom from Religion Foundation is sponsoring this program on tonight, and we really appreciate them, because we all know who pays the price when church and state merge. We're seeing it every day in this country. It's women who pay, it's LGBTQ people who pay, it's religious minorities, it's literally anyone who doesn't fit a narrow white Christian nationalist vision of America. The First Amendment exists to stop that from happening. And the Freedom from Religion Foundation is fighting in courts and in communities to keep public institutions secular, so that nobody is forced to live under someone else's theology. This is a civil rights issue. So if you want to support the incredible work they're doing, please visit ffrf.us/freedom. 511-FILE-NEW YEAR, or simply text JOY, J-O-Y, to 511-511 to learn more and to join. Go to ffrf.us/New Year or text JOY to 511-511. This is so important, y'all. Message and data rates apply, but we've got to support organizations that are supporting our right to live in not Gilead. So on the point, before we get to our guests, I just have to reiterate, and I can't say it enough. There is a connection between the Epstein files, the SAVE Act, and the mass deportation / warehousing of immigrants. And it is white Christian nationalism. Note who came out to enthusiastically support our racist friend that wants to be Assistant Secretary of State, Joe Rigney, the same guy who is the co-founder of the church that Georgia Fort and Don Lemon recorded a protest at, for which they're now being prosecuted. That church in Minneapolis is the under-church, effectively, to a major white Christian nationalist enterprise that operates out of Ohio, whose leader and pastor is also pastor to the Secretary of Defense, who is erasing Black history from anything the Pentagon controls. There's a reason these white Christian nationalists, all of them, when you listen to what they say, listen to what they say. Women shouldn't vote. Black people should know their place and go to a place that is sort of below the place of white men. White men should rule the country. They want to take women out of the workplace. They want to reduce the workforce basically in half. And they are very firm on the fact, white Christian nationalists, that there's one thing they all believe in. It's mass deportation. They are firmly, rigidly against non-white immigration. They all agree on that. You should ask yourself why. You should ask yourself why the same people who are hardcore anti-immigrant are also anti-women voting, are anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion, anti-Black, anti-Latino, anti-Super Bowl, not in English. They're all on the same page because the country they're trying to construct in their sort of perfect vision will look a lot like the country looked when it was founded. How did that look? Women had no rights. They were property. And I'm talking about white women. Blacks had no rights. They were property. And whites without land had no rights. They were little better than property. They're trying to recreate the status quo ante. It's as simple as that. And to get the status quo ante and to make the kind of gargantuan, unlimited wealth that those men earned and were created, I don't even know if they earned it, slavery was how they got it. Slavery is literally how the founders and that founding class of Europeans became so extravagantly wealthy that their descendants are wealthy to this day. They own thousands of acres of land that they stole from indigenous people. They are so wealthy, and the names of their businesses go into antiquity, right? Some of the biggest insurance companies founded in that era. They all made that money off of slavery. The big universities, Georgetown, Harvard, slavery. The wealth these people created off of the slave plantation economy was so enormous and so vast that the people who are alive now envy it. They envy it, and they're trying to recreate it. But first, they have to get people to mentally get into the conditions of that system, to accept the idea that there will be camps. Once you accept the camps, you can accept the people in the camps being used as cheap labor. You go to McDonald's, one of those people behind the counter is a free person. One of those people behind the counter comes from an incarcerated facility. And now it's not a prison, it's a mass incarcerated immigrant facility. And that person is working for $1 an hour and 50 cents goes back to the facility. They're incarcerated, but they work cheap. You can give that to the businesses. You can put them in the fields. And if you don't think they're going to eventually run out of immigrants and start putting dissenters in there, protesters, journalists, that's how these countries operate that are authoritarian. That's what we are. I'm just saying, I hate to seem like I'm being overly alarmist. But I don't think I am. Because I'm following the logical trajectory of what they're doing and what they're saying and what their ideology, what the natural outcome of their ideology is.
I don't hear any lies. I mean, it sounds about right to me. You just got to make it up. I mean.
And the thing that's so crazy about it, Jason, the thing that's so crazy about it, chats, is that MAGA, what was MAGA came from the Tea Party, and before it was the Tea Party, it was just the right. It was the Ron Paul sort of conspiracy theory right. They've always said this was coming. They've always feared that this is going to happen, that there would be mass detention camps and, people would be forced ideologically. You would have sort of, forced ideology forced on you. Reorientation camps where you would be forced to believe what they say, what the authorities say, a global government. Remember, they feared the one world state. They feared a global government. Apparently, they don't fear a global government when Jeffrey Epstein is the one apparently financing the global government or running the finances of this. If this was a global conspiracy, they don't seem to have a problem with that. And a global conspiracy that was trading in children. A global conspiracy that was doing some very weird stuff that would violate their religious principles. They don't seem to have a problem with it now. Suddenly, the very people who were warning us that if you play AC/DC records backwards, the devil was going to talk to you. Suddenly, those people are perfectly fine with the global sexual conspiracy. They've accepted Pizzagate as okay because Trump was in charge, because it's Trump's people. As long as it's Trump's people, Pizzagate's fine. When they thought it was Hillary, they're like, we got to go in and blow up that pizza shop. But now that it's Trump's folks, they're like, you know what? It's not a big deal. He was what did the guy on Fox say? It was just like a sexual, entrepreneur. That's fine. It's fine that they were trading little girls that they were picking up in trailer parks in Florida. That's okay. It's okay what they did to Virginia Giuffre and sold her all over the world, like chattel. Fine to use these children as chattel. That's fine. Trump walking in on teenage girls while they were doing a beauty pageant. That's okay. It's okay if our government lies to us, has burned books on members of Congress. So apparently you're not allowed to get the cell phone records of members of Congress who were participating in the insurrection or knew about it. That's bad. But you can bring a burn book in because you're spying on members of Congress who are looking at the Epstein files. That's okay. And it's fine that Jeffrey Epstein was abusing maybe thousands of girls and trafficking them all over the world because the Dow's at 50,000. Do you not see the Dow? Why is this such a big deal? Megyn Kelly said those girls weren't even kids. They were like young teenagers. What's wrong with that? They have been groomed to accept what we thought was the one completely unacceptable thing, which is pedophilia. The right has gone so far. They've gone so far. The Tea Partiers, the supposed, don't tread on me libertarians.
The J6 insurrectionists. There's a few of them being hemmed up on freaking
100%.
porn.
And, oh no, they have caught so many right-wing pastors, January 6ers, right-wing evangelicals. They're all getting scooped up in these pedo rings. It turns out the conspiracies that I've been hearing since high school apparently were true. It's just the perpetrators were the people pushing the conspiracy to hide in plain sight, as all of them, from the tech bros on down, were partying with Jeffrey Epstein.
Next question is, I'm sorry, Joy. Next question is, who took over Epstein's throne? Who's doing it now?
It's a good question. And by the way, where's Ghislaine Maxwell? Like, is she still getting does she still have a puppy? I heard she got a puppy. She's living her best life in prison. Why? Why is she living her best life in prison? She was trafficking those girls too. And also, where's the list of the men who were involved? We don't just want the one sultan who had the video, who was emailing about torture videos. We already knew about Lex Wexner, who was running Harvard, that was part of it. Put all the names out. But the problem is we're never going to get the names because, as weirdly enough, I have to quote her, Marjorie Taylor Greene said, Trump told her, we can't release this information. It's going to hurt my friends. It's going to hurt my friends. America, blink if you need help. Amen to that. We've got a really great guest coming up in this hour. Friend of our show, our buddy and pal will be here, Dean Obeidallah. Let's bring him on. I think he's here. Dean, come on in. Dean. I don't even know where to begin with you, but let me actually start with just how bad things have gotten on immigration. The regime has lost so much credibility that they apparently maybe have really lost Joe Rogan for good. Let's play this, Jason. This is C1.
One instrument to deal with a very complex problem. And first of all, it's the way, let's just talk about the immigration thing. The way it looks is horrific. When you're just arresting people in front of their kids and just normal, regular people that have been here for 20 years, that everybody who has a heart can't get along with that.
No.
Everybody who has a heart sees that and goes, that can't be right. That can't be right. That can't be the only way to do this.
Right.
Because you have to think, look, yeah, we have to have a border. Yes, it should have been secure. Yes, they should make sure you know who everybody is before they get in.
Yeah.
But when people have been here for 20 years, like, come on, man. That's crazy. Like, let's find a way. If they've been productive members of society for 20 years, no criminal record, they worked the entire time, they paid taxes, find them a pathway to citizenship. Find a way where you can do this thing that you want to do, which is keep terrorists and cartel members from getting across the border with drugs that kill 100,000 people a year. Okay, but also have a fucking heart. Because if you don't, you're not going to get anybody on your side. If you're doing this stuff publicly, throwing women to the ground, handcuffing people, just for existing on the wrong side of the dirt. Not a criminal. Not the only crime they ever committed was coming over here as a kid. They probably didn't even know what the fuck was going on.
Man.
You know, a lot of kids got snuck across when they were already born in Mexico. And they've grown up their entire life in America. They can't even speak Spanish. And they could get...
Is he dressed as a priest?
Yes, I think he is. Him and the other guy are both dressed as priests. I'm not quite sure how we got to that moment of cosplaying priest, but I don't even want to know what was going on.
Your thoughts?
Well, you've lost Joe Rogan, you've lost Joe Rogan, right? I mean, it's like, it's not, look, I will say this, I think he's channeling a lot of average people who might not follow politics closely. They're watching images. They can't believe this is America, federal occupation of Minneapolis. You know, I talked to a Minneapolis council person who told me it feels like they're behind enemy lines, but they're in America. Federal troops on every corner, scaring and terrorizing people, going to daycare centers, killing Americans, wounding Americans, and they're doing it because they enjoy it. They're doing it because J.D. Vance told them they're above the law because they have absolute immunity, which they don't do. Until someone's charged, they're going to believe it. So look, it's bad optics, but it's bad for these people who are being subjected to horrific conditions in their own country. They're paying taxes to be oppressed. Think about that.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, you know, we were talking about this. I went deep into the conspiracy well and played some old Alex Jones show footage from InfoWars at the top of the show, because it used to be that it was the right that was saying that the left was going to put troops in the streets. That the left was going to put the right in concentration camps. And now, to your point, their streets are occupied. They're seeing the troops in the streets, and they have this sort of muted reaction where Joe Rogan seems shocked that this could possibly happen in America. I'm glad he's coming over to the other side. But I mean, you talk to a lot of these callers, these right-wing callers. Are they equally shocked?
You know, what happens is when they can't defend it, they don't call the show, Joy. It's only when they can defend something or feel like they can defend it in reasonable good faith will they call. In the beginning, there were people on the right calling the show, this is getting the worst, and this is Biden at open borders. And I love when they say open borders. I'm like, are you telling me no one was working like the crossing points in Mexico? They all went home? They're like, shut up. They would get mad at me for calling out the truth. And so, but now they don't call because I think they are at least troubled by this, or they know even if they might support it, they know it's not popular to defend it. You can't defend what we're seeing. Joy, this is not the United States. And now they're building the massive camps. And, you know, there's a Palestinian woman, she's almost American. She wants to be, in a camp in Texas for a year now, like Cordia, who was taken in for a year, and there's no due process. That's what makes them concentration camps. It's not a glib comment to say they're concentration camps. When you're putting people in there and there's no due process, she's gotten 2 court orders and she'd be released on bond, and the government will not comply with the court order. There is no due process in the camps. They'll keep you as long as possible. And I just had an expert on detention camps on. You should have her, Andrea Pitzer. She's great. She's written books on it. She makes it very clear. You don't end with migrants in your camps. When you're building massive camps, that's where it begins. Then it goes to people who dissent, who stand up to Donald Trump. Then we're in the camp again. Joy, you and I doing the show in the camp.
Yeah.
It's got to go in that trajectory. The camps are too big. They're opening massive warehouse camps around the country. This should be a startling wake-up call for everybody.
Yeah, indeed. And let me read, I talked about this young man who is Irish, who is also caught up. His name is Seamus Cullerton, an Irish man who has been living in the U.S. for almost 20 years and is married to a U.S. citizen. He's speaking out about his experience in ICE detention for the past 5 months they held him. Quote, "I don't know how much more I can take." He was detained by ICE in September while driving home, despite telling agents he was married to a U.S. citizen, had a work permit, and was due to receive his green card. He's not out yet. He's being held right now in El Paso, Texas. 5 months of detention, Dean. So they're even catching people who are not black or brown. Meanwhile, our tax money is being used, USAID money that was saving lives around the world. Russ Vought is getting that for his security. The architect of white Christian nationalism in our government has taken that money and is using it for himself to make sure that he's got good security. It's sick on every level.
Who's threatening Russ Vought? Nobody knows Russ Vought but us. It's not people going, damn, Stephen Miller, you might want to have a tank around you and stuff. Stephen Miller is despised. That's different.
Yes. No one knows who Russ Vought is.
Right. So no one knows. I guess it's more for the ego. I'm going to have a whole phalanx of people protecting me, like the Roman guard is here. But going back for a second for Seamus in there for 5 months. We know there's at least 70,000 people in these camps. They are keeping them open-ended. There is no way out. The Fifth Circuit just ruled in a 2-to-1 decision that there's no right to bail if you're in these camps, meaning you are there until they want to put you before a judge. They've cut down the number of judges on purpose. These could be death camps at some point.
Yeah.
But there are camps open-ended holding, and nothing I'm saying is over the top. Everything I'm saying is based on the law and what's happening. Again, that young woman for a year, her mom's a U.S. citizen. What happened? Why did they go after her? She was at Columbia University, not as a student, just protesting the genocide in Gaza. Mm-hmm. They arrest her. They release her the next day. Then they start investigating her. And because Rubio has made anyone who advocates for Palestinian humanity an enemy of the state, they went and grabbed her a few months later in New Jersey. And she's been in a camp for almost a year. She was just hospitalized a week and a half ago. She's had seizures. She's 33. She wears a hijab. She gets no privacy whatsoever. And her health is dwindling. And if she died, they would not care. And you know, worst part, Joy, Tricia McLaughlin, that one of the Homeland Security liars, said these migrants are getting better health care from us than they did in their home countries. This is the glibness, the lack of humanity, that they don't see the brown, black people in their camps or Seamus as human beings. This is how genocide. This is how extermination happens in modern day societies.
Yeah, they don't particularly like the Irish because the Irish are a bit too pro-Palestinian, I think, for their taste.
You're right.
They're on the wrong side for them. I mean, talk to me just about I feel like these two stories are really one, right? I mean, they are uber protecting the people in the Epstein files, saying, move on, forget about the Epstein files. Jason, I don't know if you have the C3. It's the things that we're learning about what Jeffrey Epstein and his friends were doing, while people like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and Steve Bannon were hanging out with him and kikiing with them, and the presidents of Harvard were hanging out with him, and major industrialists, and this is one where they're talking about trading a 10-year-old or sending a 10-year-old to him. And they're saying forget about this. This is not important. And even forget about the people who are dying potentially in these camps. Forget about that. Just focus on the Dow. You know, they go on.
I want to emphasize one point about Pam Bondi, which I've been doing. I'm out there saying it wherever I can. I'm writing about it. Pam Bondi was Attorney General of Florida from 2011 to 2019. We know from the emails now, Jeffrey Epstein was still running his child rape ring while she was AG. Pam Bondi made a big point of prosecuting child predators. One person she never prosecuted was Jeffrey Epstein. There were numerous media reports while she was AG of lawsuits against Jeffrey Epstein for abusing people. He was already out of prison. She never prosecuted. She was protecting people like Donald Trump then, and she's continuing to protect people like Donald Trump and other powerful men, including, I bet you, Democratic rich men right now. That's what this is all about. So to move on, she's happy to move on because she's implicated. She is part of the cover. Jeffrey Epstein ran the biggest child adult sex ring that we've ever seen. And right now, Pam Bondi's doing the biggest cover-up of a sex ring in our lives. So move on. Of course, this is self-preservation. That show last week, Joy, wasn't just to protect Trump. It's to protect her. She's implicated. She's part of the cover-up. I can tell you, I don't think she's part of the sex crimes, but she's part of the cover-up. There's no doubt about it. So she's happy. Yeah, let's move on. Can we finally move on? At some point, I hope there's an investigation into why she covered up, who she covered up, what evidence they have when she was AG. Did she hide any? Did she destroy any? We need to answer those questions.
And also, I think there is this point that I thought about it last week. I was like, I need to make this point on the show. Donald Trump's first pick for AG was Matt Gaetz.
Oh, yeah.
Who was credibly accused of sex trafficking teenage girls, whose best friend is serving time for that. There was an ethics report that was going to come out from his Republican colleagues that was going to be damning as regards to his behavior with teenage girls. And he resigned, withdrew his nomination to be Attorney General of the United States. That was going to be his job because of that. And he was replaced by Pam Bondi. Donald Trump has a habit, or maybe he's just bad lucky. He keeps putting people in place who have Epstein connections. The guy running Doge is Elon Musk, Epstein connections. The guy running JD Vance, Peter Thiel, keying with Jeffrey Epstein. RFK Jr., right? I mean, has a weird past when it comes to sort of his, attitudes toward women. Let's just put it that way. Right. Dr. Oz apparently is in the Epstein files. We're talking about maybe a half a dozen people in the administration are in the Epstein files. If Donald Trump is out of the unluckiest man in the world, where he just keeps on happening to know a lot of pedophiles, all his model agent friends, pedophiles and sex pests. He just either knows a lot of pedophiles and sex pests just by happenstance, or he's deliberately surrounding himself with them.
I wonder what people watching are going to say is the answer. What do you think, Joy? What do you think they're going to say? B, we're going to go with B, Donald Trump. Donald Trump knew all about it. We know this from sworn testimony. In the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, one of the victims said she was 14 years old when Jeffrey Epstein was having sex with her. This 14-year-old, was brought by Epstein to Mar-a-Lago to meet Donald Trump. What person in their right mind meets a guy with a 14-year-old and the guy's like in his 40s then, and Trump knew exactly what he was about and doesn't go like, why are you with a 14-year-old? Nope, she met him. She said it was nice to meet him. He said, nice to meet you. This was not the first child, I imagine, that Jeffrey Epstein introduced to Donald Trump. Because if you introduce me, if one of my friends shows up with his arm around a 14-year-old girl, I'm like, what are you doing? What is this? But if I've saw it all the time and I'm not troubled by it, I go, oh, nice to meet your latest child sex, you're the latest person you're raping. Donald Trump knew everything. Look, Trump was part of this world. We're just missing that one piece of evidence that connects him to actually having rape of children. We're missing that. And so I won't say he's done that, but he knew about it. We know he knew about it. We knew everything about him. Smells to high heaven. The guy with the teen parties, with the teen beauty queens, to having these parties at his Mar-a-Lago. So look, Trump has no problem with what we've seen. But one thing, Joy, I just want to point out, this is for the survivors, right? All of this we're doing. And the cover-up is worse now. There are over 1,200 victims. We know that from DOJ. Over 1,200 victims. They have women who are at the congressional hearing saying they want justice. They are willing to testify. We have statements of victims in the DOJ file, and they're going to investigate nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. That's what a cover-up looks like. That's the worst cover-up I've ever seen. It's despicable.
It's despicable. And the fact that it is Republican, that Donald Trump is attacking members of his own party, he's so enraged. I mean, he becomes unhinged when the Epstein files. It feels like consciousness of guilt. And again, I don't know any pedophile. So he knows a lot. Like, he knows a lot of them, and was, trafficking around with them. And also owning of all the beauty pageants to own, he owned one about teenagers. And he just happened to, and then maybe it's just bad luck that he just happens to be running in these circles that have Big Ben diagrams with Jeffrey Epstein. But Jeffrey Epstein said that he was his best friend for a decade. So it's kind of hard to believe he knew nothing.
Donald Trump said in a 2002 interview with New York Magazine that Jeffrey Epstein is terrific. They've been buddies for 15 years, that he likes beautiful women as much as he does on the younger side. On the younger side, Trump's dating like 20-year-olds at that point. On the younger side are children. We're talking about 2002, not 2020. That's when Trump is out there living his life out at Mar-a-Lago. And the point that the corporate media doesn't want to challenge Trump on, he put in writing in 2024, he was never on the Epstein jet, Lolita Express. In writing, well, we know from the Epstein files, he was on the jet at least 8 times.
Yeah. Yep.
At least 8 times. Why does the corporate media, to his face, in the Oval Office, go, hey, you said in writing in 2024 you were never on the plane. We know you were on at least 8 times. You're on the manifest with other people, including your family at one point. Why did you lie about that? Why won't they ask that question, Joy? Because we know they don't want to lose access.
Well, and also, what is his treasury guy that went Lutnick, who did a whole interview and said, I went in that house one time and saw that massage chair and said, I will never be around this creep again. Then it turns out when he's under oath in front of Congress, not only did he hang out with Jeffrey Epstein, he went to the island with his kids, his wife and kids. Who brings their wife and kids to a pedophile's complex in the Caribbean?
And there's no way, common sense tells us, there's no way they didn't speak for years and he just shows up at the island with his family.
No way.
Continuing to be in touch with them. We know that from common sense. I haven't seen the emails, but common sense tells you that. So they are all lying about their connections to Epstein. It's very hard to believe they didn't know what was going on. And I feel for the victims. I've talked to Lisa Phillips.
Absolutely.
They deserve justice. It's part of healing. Accountability helps victims heal. The women who have been through this, they deserve justice. Forget politics. Forget Trump. It's about justice for the victims. And Pam Bondi will not do it. She's covering up right now. And Todd Blanche is part of the whole thing. And he's Trump's personal lawyer. Now in charge of DOJ.
Let's talk about, let's shift a little bit. I want to talk about this story, the British Museum. The British Museum. I think about that in Had Lost Its Charm, How Long? It's a good song. But the British Museum is not behaving itself. It has decided to erase Palestine from ancient maps. I find this to be such a bizarre story. So there are these ancient Middle East displays, and Palestine exists in them. I mean, it's like, it's not an offensive word to say. It's a thing that is real. It's a place that existed since antiquity. What do you make of the idea that the British Museum has decided they need to erase these because some pro-Israel groups felt offended?
Look, we're living through in America. You erase history to make your present policies more justifiable, right? The famous quote by George Orwell, whoever controls the past controls the future. Whoever controls the present controls the past. That's the idea. If you can rewrite your history like autocrats and fascists do, it creates a mythology to allow you to impose your policies today. So by erasing Palestinians, you can say, well, no, we didn't steal anybody's land. There was nobody here. It was a province of the Ottoman Empire from about the 1500s. Of course it was there. There was in Israel in biblical times. There's no denying that either, right? And then it became Palestine, it became a province of the Ottoman Empire, and then it became a mandate of Britain that the UN operated until the UN then said, we're going to divide the land up. We're going to give 55% of the land to half the population, which were then the Jews, and we're going to give the smaller part to the double the population, which were the Palestinians. Accept that. And that's when, since that day, we've had ongoing war back and forth. And then now much more at the expense of the Palestinian people. It just continues.
It seems to me that these new edicts out of Bibi Netanyahu are pretty onerous and ominous for the people in the West Bank. We talk so much about Gaza and the complete obliteration of that part of where Palestinians have been living, but it seems to me that they are moving to just annex the rest of the West Bank. I don't see any, I can't read the new policies any other way.
Well, and they're not hiding it. The people in the administration of Netanyahu, people like Ben Gvir, that's his last name, and Smotrich, the finance minister, just literally when the was passed on Sunday saying they're going to take more of the West Bank. They're going to register it, which is just to annex it and steal it. Said they want all of it. They want no Palestinian state. They want the West Bank to be like the Jewish-only settlements that are in the West Bank, the entire area. That's what they want of Gaza. And recent polls show 57% of Israelis want all the Christians and Muslims out of Israel. They want the entire area. So this is not mainstream Judaism. This is a right-wing extremism.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's controlling Israel right now. And you're seeing they want to get rid of the Christians and Muslims. They support the settlers who attack Christian villages like Tabia in the West Bank. The priests have talked about it. They had their church burned by the Israeli settlers, and it's backed by Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, and the rest of the Netanyahu administration. They're coming from my family's land in the West Bank. Now, my family's been there for a generation. They're literally trying to drive my family out of their land while burning down olive trees in the entire area.
I mean, it is the same logic that the Europeans used to take this country, to take South Africa, to take Tanzania. You go on, you can go on, and they always say it's a biblical mandate, but it's always the same thing. It's land theft, and they just want the land. And to your point, and Zionism is not Judaism. Zionism is a political ideology, and it claims to represent all of Judaism. But I know a lot of Jewish people are not Zionists, so it is not one and the same. And I think this regime, this Trump regime, they've weirdly married them together in a way that they've even done it in the sort of legally, right? So their framework for going after Harvard and these other universities is to essentially say Zionism and Judaism are one and the same. And if you're against one, then you're against the other, which is insane. The people who created Zionism were atheists.
But Theodor Herzl was the father of Zionism, and it was a movement where they debated where should they put their homeland, Uganda, Madagascar, or back in ancient Israel. It was not in Israel. It was Palestine on all the maps because that's what it was. There were Palestinians like my family there. They were Arabs. They identified as Palestinians because when they were a threat to their sovereignty, there were big Arab riots. They were called Arab riots in the 1930s before the creation of Israel in 1947 because they got a sense they were going to be driven from their land. So there was a sense, this is our land, whatever you want to call us, Arabs or Palestinians, this is our generational land. We've been here for generations. And so it's not over. They want the land. The dream of a greater Israel, which is the Netanyahu Likud group dream, goes from the river to the sea. No Christians, no Muslims living there.
Yeah, and it includes parts of Lebanon because, by the way, they style themselves as eating up parts of Syria and Lebanon too. So they don't want to just confine it to the parts they're occupying now. Like they want to eat up parts of other countries too. Can I play you, for instance, because one of the things that you can see is that Bibi Netanyahu is aware that he has maybe single-handedly destroyed the image of Israel in the United States. Even most Republicans, young Republicans in particular, are against him. They're against this regime. They're not pro-Israel anymore. Israel is polling the lowest that it ever has in the United States. And so he seems to think that this is the way to fix it. Jason, this is C5, if you have it.
A military aid within the next 10 years.
That would be a very dramatic shift.
We kept, as you say, American military support to the tune of $3.8 billion a year. Much appreciated. So now in my visit with President Trump, I said, we very deeply appreciate the military aid that America has given us over the years, but here too we've come of age and we've developed incredible capacities. And in our economy, which will soon reach, certainly within a decade, it'll reach about $1 trillion. It's not a huge economy, but it's not a small economy. So I want to taper off a military aid within the next 10 years. That's not saying that I don't want to fight for the allegiance and support of the American people. I do. You have to be crazy not to. And it's something deep. It's not.
You want to taper it off to zero within 10 years?
Yes.
That would be a very dramatic shift.
Well, it's in the work.
So he says 10 years from now, Dean, he of course he put it to 10 years from now. He's like, I still want my money I still want y'all money for 10 years. But then after that, we'll just taper it off. But not the military aid. We still want that. You'll just no longer be funding our healthcare system and giving us free college. It's
remarkable. In Israel, they have a robust social programs. They have healthcare from the grave, from childhood to grave. They've got a family. They have schools like pre-K guaranteed by the federal government. The things I wish we had in America, but we don't have it, not exclusively, but in part because we've given billions of dollars to Israel. And it's not just $3 billion. It's $6 billion a few weeks ago. It's $14 billion 2 years ago. With this money, Americans could use it. The idea that an American who works 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet and their tax dollars doesn't come back to where they live, but it goes across the ocean to Israel because of domestic political concerns is outrageous. If they want to buy weapons from us and comply with international law while using them, that's one thing. For us to give them our tax dollars is ridiculous, and it shouldn't be 10 years. It should have been. We've never enforced the conditions. What they did in Gaza was a genocide.
Yes.
The UN says it, Salem says it. There should be prosecutions. Benjamin Netanyahu should be in a prison cell or at least on trial at the ICC. And if he wins his case, so be it. He should be on trial for crimes against humanity because that's what he was charged with. Crimes against humanity, literally. And we're still funding a war criminal is outrageous. It's inconsistent with American values that I believe we should stand for. And that's the fight right now, right? We're dealing with a fascist regime in Trump who likes a guy who's a right-wing autocrat in his own way in his own country.
Yeah, he's a fascist and a war criminal. And he's been to the White House, like we counted. We had our great interns count. It's at least 6 times every other month since last February. That war criminal is back in our White House. And it's like, he's almost like he's Trump's handler. Like he needs to come back and make sure that he's not releasing the Epstein files. I mean, what is going on here? Why is he always here? Before I let you go, talk to me about Randy Fine. Apparently Randy Fine has decided, well, he never did like the Muslims scene. He's never a fan. But he's now decided to go full Twitterati. Talk about this for a second. Jason, this is C6 and when you have it. There it is. There's the post.
There it is.
What's going on here?
So, first of all, Randy Fine for years has been an anti-Muslim bigot. Even though he's the state representative, state senator, I know who he was. We know who he is. But the one thing I really want people to realize, because he's talked about a few things. One, getting rid of all the Muslims in America. 1/3 of Muslims are black.
Right.
He's well versed. Getting rid of blacks and Muslims works perfectly for the MAGA base. Look at Ilhan Omar, right? They go after her all the time. That plays well. Secondly, Randy Fine talking about him as an anti-Muslim bigot is leaving out that he's an anti-Christian bigot as well. This is a man who's called for killing all Palestinians, who called for starving Palestinians. He, again, well versed. He knows there's hundreds of thousands of Palestinian Christians, at least 50,000 living in the West Bank. So when he talks about nuking, which he has, Palestinians, or destroying them, or saying Palestinians are evil, which he has, he's not just talking about Muslims. He means Christians as well. This is religious supremacy. It's like Ben Gvir and Smotrich I mentioned earlier from Israel. Same mindset. They are superior in their view. Again, this is not a mainstream Jewish view. It is a right-wing Jewish view where they are superior. We, Christians or Muslims, are inferior. We do not deserve equal rights. We deserve to be ethnically cleansed, and if we won't go along with their plan, to be killed. That's what Randy Fine's about. And my plea to people is he's not drawing the line in the Middle East. He is demonizing Muslims here, and if he had the courage, he would let you see his real views on Christians in America. He views them as inferior as well. He's a threat to both communities. And I don't understand why the Christian right in America would support a man. AIPAC loves him, even though of course. AIPAC still supports him. But we should be worried. People like him are stirring up a hate, and it's not, he thinks it's easy to be anti-Muslim. He's also anti-Christian, and his statements are very clear. And I hope, one thing I hope people take from me, Joy, when you hear the term Palestinian, that's not synonymous with Islam or Muslim. Right. There are hundreds of thousands of Christians in Palestine, Bethlehem. My family's from outside of Bethlehem. There are a lot of Palestinian Christians right there. They know that in Nazareth, within Israel, big Palestinian Christian community. In the West Bank, Palestinian communities. When he's demonizing Palestinians, he knows he's talking about Christians as well. And our media needs to start calling that out much more. He's coming for blacks, Christians, and Muslims. That's what Randy Fine's about.
Indeed. And it is surprising to me that given the fact that AIPAC supports people like him, that the Democratic Party writ large and the leadership of the Democratic Party will not separate from AIPAC. We interviewed Wajahat Ali and I. He was co-hosting with me. Thank you to Wajahat, the minority leader, the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, and he would not budge from AIPAC at all. Does it surprise you that given how unpopular Israel is, Bibi Netanyahu is, and how unpopular AIPAC is, they go after Democrats, even moderate Democrats, if they step 1 inch away from Israel, which is a foreign country at the end of the day. Right. Are you surprised that the Democratic Party writ large will not separate from them?
I'm disappointed. I'm not surprised. I mean, look, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer get to their position by raising a lot of money. That's how you become a leader in Congress. I think everyone understands it. That's the way it works. They've taken a lot of money from AIPAC in the past when they were not viewed as toxic. Now there's toxic, but they need the money. They don't care that other Democrats are being primary, like our friend Jamal Bowman.
Yeah.
With, I love
Cori
Jamal.
Bush.
Cori Bush. primaried with AIPAC money. So I don't know how you can look his caucus in the face knowing that some of them will be primaried by the same organization that's helping fund him try to make the Democratic majority. But look, the same leadership in the House and the Senate are the ones who got us here. We've lost the White House, the House, and the Senate, and they're saying, follow me. I have the greatest plan. I'm like, you're like the quarterback who's lost every game. Like, no. Let me play a few more games. I'll be great. Your approach has not worked, and I don't know what it'll take. Chuck Schumer, it's done. I might even run against him in 2028. I mean, everyone's going to run against him in 2028.
Yeah.
The team has glimmers of good stuff, and then there's bad stuff. And I really wish he would break from that old mindset and understand the party is shifting, the base is shifting. Listen to the base for a change, not the donor class. Listen to the base. Listen to the middle class, the working class. The donor class got enough protectors. Listen to us for a change.
Are you running for Congress? Because you could be part of his caucus. Are you running?
I'm actually exploring a run in the 12th Congressional District, which is here in Manhattan from 14th Street to 96th Street. I'm talking to a lot of people. It's been very interesting. I'll make up my mind in a week. That's the deadline I've imposed. That's when petitions start. You have to get petitions to get on the ballot. It's going to be challenging. And I don't shirk from that, but it's the idea of there's no one in the race who's Muslim, who's pro-Palestinian like I am. Also, my whole activism is about the working class, the working poor. That's the family I come from. And I live in the richest district right here. And I think it's a have-not district. I've talked to so many people who they hear it's a wealthy district. They can't even pay their rent. They don't know if they're going to be able to food for their family. And people aren't talking about that. They're talking about the wealthy class and that kind of positioning. So look, it's possible. I'm looking into it, but if not, one day I'd like to do public service. I would love to serve the country at some point.
I think you would be a great member of Congress. Last quick question before I let you go, Dean. If you were elected, would you vote for Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker?
Depends if Hakeem supports me in the primary. But no, I have no idea. To be honest, if I were to win and we get to that point, it depends who else is in the caucus with us and whoever is running against him. But that's the least of my concerns. It's about the idea of trying to find more people in the district, talk to them, get to know the issues more, and see if there's a path for me to actually win this.
Dean Obeidallah, host of the eponymous Dean Obeidallah Show, which literally is it's my friend as I take Nala, pick her up from daycare. Literally, I listen to Dean on the radio. Dean is so much fun. His show is fantastic. You're going to want to listen to the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM. Also, Dean, let them know where they can find you on social media, etc.
I'm on BlueSky at Dean Obeidallah. If you're on Substack, which is Substack hell at this point, I am there on Hubstack, the Dean's Report. I used to like the Substack more, but I love writing, and I hope it's free. It's always free. So those are the big play. And Threads, I'm also there. Dean Obeidallah. Everything's Dean Obeidallah.
Keeping it really simple so that you guys can always follow it. Dean, my friend, thank you so much. Always appreciate you, man. Thank you for hanging out.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much. All right, everybody, we can get a round of applause, Jason, if you don't mind for Dean. He's great. Before we let you guys go, our moment of joy. It is appropriate both for Black History Month and for President's Day, which we call Obama Day around here. Because while Donald Trump gets booed outside of his own tower in New York City, I want y'all to see how Barack and Michelle, our forever First Lady and her hubsy, alongside their pal Eric Holder, were greeted at the NBA All-Star Game. Eat your heart out, Donald. People love the Obamas. They don't love you. They sure don't. Now, before we go, I want to pass along this really great note from Baratunde Thurston, who posted it on his social media. The kids at Liam Ramos, Leon Conejo Ramos, remember the little boy with the little cute little blue hat and the backpack? The kids at his school are asking for our support as he and his family, if you can believe it, are continuing to face the threat of being deported. So take a look. It's called Bunnies for Liam, and it's something that the kids at his school would love for us to do. If you can make yourself a little bunny, we're going to post the link to this post. It's also on Baratunde's subs on his IG. It's also on my IG page. We'll make sure we put it there so you guys can see it. Thank y'all very much. They're saying that was Eric Holder with him? Yeah, Dr. J was also there, but I think Eric was with him. I saw Eric Holder in the picture. Was that not Dr. J? They said that was Dr. J, Jason. I thought that was Eric Holder. Maybe I'll text. I'll find out from Eric Holder. I'll find out if it was him. Whoever it was, he got cheered and he didn't get booed like Trump. How about that? We want to make sure that we support this sweet little boy because we want this family, the Ramos family, to stay much more than we want the Trumps, Pamela Joe, Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller, and all them people to stay. We'd rather let them go. Let's support them and keep Liam in the country. Thank you all. We appreciate y'all watching tonight. Let's get a couple little notes here before we let you go. Do not forget that we are doing, I think you guys are out of time. So we'll let you guys go till tonight at midnight. If you've got Black history questions that you want to get in, you can send them to blackafhistory@thejoyreidshow.com. You still have a few more hours, but we got to prepare for the show. We want to make sure that we get all of your questions in for Michael Harriot, for Garrison Hayes, and for Ashley, the Baroness. It's going to be really fun. We're going to do like Black history facts you didn't know, stuff that you had questions, whether you think it's true facts or fake news. We're going to debunk some things. But we're also going to talk about really the beauty of Black history and why this month is so important. The reason we unbury history, the reason we want to know history is that it helps us be better as a country. It actually makes the country better. We don't fear for history. We don't run from it. We don't lie about it. We don't bury it. We embrace the country for better or for worse. And a lot of the horrific things that happen are what built the country to be what it is. Now, we certainly don't want to lionize, the devils in our history. And I think that we spend too much time in this country lionizing our enemies. Like, just because we embrace our history doesn't mean we embrace our enemy's history. And what we did for too long was we embraced the history of our literal enemy, which is the Confederate States of America. They fought a war with us. They killed our troops. They are a part of our history. The fact of them is something we should remember, but I don't think we need statues to them. You see what I'm saying? We need to embrace our history, and our history includes the good and the bad. It includes enslavement, but it also includes the abolition movement. It includes Harriet Tubman, but it also includes some villains as well. We don't have to put statues up to our villains in order to remember them. I do think it is important to put statues up to the people who bled and fought for and worked for this country. And in many cases, the people who built this country physically were the enslaved people. It was indigenous people whose land was stolen and who were replaced. The Great Replacement was the replacement of them. That's history we should tell. When finally African slaves and their descendants were liberated from slavery by their own work, and their own work in the Civil War and all the uprisings, the replacement of that labor with brown labor is a part of our history. The replacement of that labor with Chinese labor to build the railroads, and the exclusion of those Chinese people afterward to say that you didn't want them bringing your wives and children because they didn't want them to proliferate. The exclusion of them from immigration. That's our history. It's real. And trying to sweep it under the rug like this regime is doing, it's not only stupid in an age of the internet when people can just look it up and get it anyway, but it also is a sign of weakness. Just like the Great Replacement theory and believing in it is an incredible sign of weakness. If you are saying to that guy who's trying to be an assistant secretary of state that all it takes is George Soros and a handful of immigrants working as construction workers and cooks to destroy your entire culture, that might mean your culture might be pretty weak. If you're saying all it takes is Bad Bunny performing in the Super Bowl to destroy you, you might not have had much in the first place. If all it takes is for the country to get a little browner, for your people to be utterly destroyed, as the Mexican kid who's their white nationalist sort of leader, Nicolas Fuentes. I like to call him Nicolas Fuentes. Nicolas Fuentes, the Mexicano, who is their, sort of Nazi curious streamer guy. Nicolas Fuentes thinks that all it takes to destroy all white people is a few brown people to move to Minneapolis, and they're just destroyed. A few H-1 visas, a few H-1B visas, a few Indians come into Silicon Valley, destroyed. That's not a sign of strength. You're not impressing me. You're not impressing me with your superiority, friends. If you're so superior, a few Jewish folks writing some liberal immigration policy should not be able to destroy your civilization. If your civilization is so powerful and you're so superior, inherently so superior to all these other types of people, then why is it that you can just be destroyed by a few brown construction workers and folks who take day labor at Home Depot? The arepa lady can take you down. You might not have had a whole lot to begin with. And also, it's 400 years later. You should be real on top if you're so superior. If you're not, that might be a you problem, not an immigrant problem.
I fell asleep under a tree and time caught up.
Time caught up.
Yeah. Let's wrap this up.
Let's go. Y'all, much love. See you guys on Wednesday. Thanks for watching the Joy Reid Show. Like, subscribe, share, and goodbye.
Getting back to the basics, grassroots level. Let me dig a little deeper with the shovel. Plenty can't tell the forest from the trees, and I'm hard to detect, like a black hole in the dark. Injustice anywhere, it's a threat to justice everywhere. Let me make this clear, I got a bone to pick, and I'll never fear the threat of poverty. They don't want to talk about it, they rather party, so I'm a real talk about it, for sure.